Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Finland for the first time in what feels like a good little while actually, and that means we're going to have a look at yet another beer from the Riku box. So a massive shout out and thank you once again to Riku Sinaxinaho, one of my subscribers who is now officially my Finnish beer mule. As I've told you before, Finnish beer is incredibly difficult to get unless you're actually in Finland, so it's thanks to him that you guys are able to see a steady flow of Finnish beers reviewed here on the channel now, and we will continue this indefinitely. We have another 3 or 4 beers from the first Riku box still to review. Those are some of the big boys, but you will see me review those gradually before the end of the year, I would think, and we will look at the second Riku box either in January or February of 2021, and I'm really looking forward to that because he's already got me some really nice dark beers, and we'll look and see what IPAs we can get closer to the time actually. But yeah, like I say, massive shout out and thank you to Riku for making this Finnish series possible, and I hope that you guys are enjoying it. The quality of the Finnish beers these days is great in my experience, and it's always cool to have subscribers like that who will help you get a hold of random things. For this review though, we are going to return to a brewery who I have had something from before, and it's featured on the channel too, but they are now defunct apparently, which is quite sad. So for this review we are going to go back to Vakka-Suomen Panimo for the second time, and we're having a look at another beer from their Prykmestar range, or Brewmaster range I guess you could translate that into English as. This one is the Wehnäbock. It comes in at 6.2% ABV, and this one is a Bock style lager beer. So yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. The last beer that I had from these guys was the Prykmestar Wehnäbock, which was a Sati beer, and that was beautiful actually. I really liked that beer. And that was actually one of the first Finnish craft beers that I reviewed for you here on the channel. That was a way back in early 2016 if I remember rightly. One of my classmates from physics, Leo, he brought me a couple of Finnish beers over, and it was the Savukattoja that I mentioned, and he also bought me the Plevnan Siperia as well, and those were the two first proper Finnish craft reviews that I did for you here on the channel actually. And now of course we have Riku who is supplying me with all of these, which is great. So yeah, definitely nice to encounter this brewery once again. Sad to hear that they're defunct, but as you'll hear in the history section of the video, the brand will continue on actually, which is great. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So let's see how we get on with this one then. As always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Vakka-Suomen Panimo before, and you will see more added to that in the near future since the brand is surviving. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for the Finnish beers that I've reviewed for you, and that is being added to regularly thanks to Riku. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Vakka-Suomen Panimo then. On to my brewery notes. So this brewery was located in Uusikaupunki in southwestern Finland, maybe about 2 hours or so away from Turku. But the company was founded in the town was founded in 1617, and apparently it flourished during the 1800s as a shipbuilding city, but today it has a population of only around 15,000 people, and there's a lot of towns like that of course throughout Finland and the Nordic countries, very small towns. But the brewery itself was founded in 2007, with the first beers being produced the following year in 2008. The beers are all named Prykmestar to honour an old brewery in the city that was owned by the Prykin family, but apparently it does translate to Brewmaster from what I understand as well. But this Prykin family were around in the 1900s, but this brewery unfortunately faded away after a period of time, but it's been brought back to life by these guys. But in 2014 they moved to a new location in the city centre, which was equipped with a 2,000 litre Kasper Schultz brewery from Germany, and at the end of 2018 they were producing around 600,000 litres of beer. But the main man behind this brewery was Jani Vilpas, and he had been to train as a brewer in Germany, and apparently these days he works for Laitilan Vervoitus Juhomattidas, which is with the big, one of the big kind of soft drinks and beer companies in Finland, and they produce the Kukko beer brand as well as various other things. But unfortunately, this brewery, the Vakka-Suomen Panimo, these guys went bust in March of 2020, but the rights to brew the beer have since been acquired by Stadin Panimo in Suvilahti in Helsinki, and they acquired those in May, if I remember rightly, and this means that the production of these beers will continue, and it will actually increase significantly. And at the point of them going bust, the Vakka-Suominen brand had produced a total of 219 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd, and I do wonder if that will increase over the next little while actually. You have seen Stadin Panimo feature on the channel before. They were the last beer that I reviewed actually, if I remember rightly, and I did quite enjoy that one actually, so I look forward to trying more from those guys as well. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Vakka-Suomen Panimo for the moment. I do look forward to trying more beers from these guys, and I'm glad that they did manage to survive. Maybe I need to get a bottle of the Savukatteja to review for you again on a live stream or something like that. It'd be quite cool to do a live review of that with Riku maybe. That's maybe an idea, is to get him to put a bottle of that in the next box, and we can film an online review together or something like that. I think that would be pretty cool. Maybe to do Nancy Peria again with him would be pretty interesting too. But yeah, we'll look into doing that later on maybe. But yeah, definitely nice to have these guys on the channel once again. That's all I'm able to tell you, like I said. So if you want to read more about this brewery, you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So as I said to you, this beer is a 6.2% Bock beer. The Bock, as I've told you in other videos, is a style that originates from Germany. It's originally from the town of Einbeck, and the beers that they used to take their beers down to Munich basically, and the Munich people used to make fun of these people from Einbeck because they had a slightly different accent. So when they ended up calling the Einbeck beers the Bocks, because that's just the way it sounded when they said it apparently, and so the name kind of caught on. And Bock in German of course means goat, and that's why you see goats on a number of these German brewed Bock beers actually. So yes, basically the Germans making fun of a regional accent, and that's why this style of beer is known as the Bock. And of course you do have the Doppelbock of course, which is lovely. I do recommend that you try out the Einger Celebrator and the Weinstefaner Corbinian. There's lots of really nice examples. The Augustiner Maximator, the Weltenburger Assambock, you know, Doppelbocks for me are awesome. I don't get to try too many single bocks, so it is quite interesting to try these just now, although yesterday you would have seen me review the Teslas Bock, which was a very nice example from the Netherlands. So quite cool to have a Finnish one for you the next day as well. These beers are of course very much in season when we're filming this review in October 2020. But yeah, really nicely presented beer, this one. The label of course is quite similar in terms of what we had from the Savukatteja, and there you can see the Vakka-Suomen Panimo bottle cap on this. I do wonder if that will remain the same. From what I understand, as I say, I think Stadin Panimo will kind of run them as almost like a subsidiary, if you like, so they will kind of leave them alone and let them do their own things, but just expand capacity and stuff like that. But yeah, nicely presented this one. There you can see the Finnish flag on the side of it as well, which I do think is a nice little touch. I love that when craft breweries have their national flag on the beer as well. But it tells you a little bit about Finnish on the side here, although I have no idea what it says. Finnish, as I've told you before, I think it's a beautiful sounding language, but I think whoever created it was just having a laugh to see how many vowels you could fit in a word. The length of some of these words and the number of vowels is just crazy, but I can make out it says Cascade Humala, which I know will mean Cascade hops. That's basically all I know about it. And it says, oh, Citrus Arominen, which, you know, kind of makes sense as well. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Yeah, lots of very good metal bands from Finland. Of course, I listen to a lot of them, and it is a beautiful language. Like I say, it's just incredibly difficult to learn, and just, you know, as I say, it just seems like a contest to see how many vowels you can get into a word. So yeah, let's get the rest of this out and get on with the taste, and then very curious to see what this has in store for us. Oh, you can see that head's just going to fade away very quickly, so about a quarter finger, maybe between a quarter and a third finger of a frothy, I would say kind of fawny coloured head there actually. That's just going to fade away and leave a nice little ring around the edge of the glass there, but I mean it does look very, very nice. If we shine the light through this one, it does have a degree of haze. It looked very, very clear when we poured it initially, but then there must have been a little bit of sediment just at the bottom of the bottle. But I would describe this as being a nice kind of I would describe this as being a nice sort of chestnutty, mahogany kind of colour, this one. But it certainly looks very, very nice, I have to say. Nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider what style it is. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there, but it certainly does look very, very nice, I have to say. So yeah, take a little bit of time and just enjoy how this beer looks, because it does look very, very nice. It's actually got a nice little bit of a ruby kind of coppery kind of tint to it when you look through it as well, but yeah, a nice kind of chestnutty coppery coloured beer, this one, and you can see the kind of ring around the edge of the glass just retains there very, very nicely. So yeah, let's have a closer look at the nose on this one and see how we go. Very curious about this beer, like I said. Ooh, that does smell pretty nice. It smells pretty traditional and German, of course. So straight away with this one, you're going to notice that nice kind of bready base to it. As I've told you before, that the Bock beer is a lager beer. It's a bottom fermenting, cold fermenting yeast that is used in this one. So straight away with this beer, you get a little bit of a kind of brown bready note to the beer. That's kind of forming the backbone of it. It does smell quite crisp and quite clean. That's one of the things you always get with these Nordic brewed beers. They always just smell very crisp and clean because of the quality of the water that you have the further north that you go. But yeah. Yeah, it smells very nice, that. So you do get a little bit of a straight up caramel out of this one. You get a nice wee bit of a biscuity quality as well, that McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing, and underneath you've got that nice kind of brown, almost German rye bread type quality coming out of this one too. But it really is a very, very nice smelling beer, this one, and in that sense it gets a thumbs up for me. It smells very, very authentic, but like I say, the thing that really sets it apart from the German brewed examples is just how kind of clean it smells. The aroma, I would say, on this one is not too it's not too kind of assuming, if you like. It's actually quite subtle almost. It just kind of sits there. It's not overly pungent, and you don't expect this style to be overly pungent, in fairness. Yeah, I mean, you get one or two little woody elements out of it. You do get one or two little more kind of bready things, as I say, a little bit of graininess from the bread, but it is kind of what you would expect, to be honest with you. On the hoppy side of things, there's a little bit of earthiness to this one. I would suspect with this beer that there is a little bit of a noble hop with this one, along with the Cascade, but yeah, there's a little touch of earthiness to it, nice little bit of floral aromaticity, and at the front of the nose you do get a little bit more, you know, you do get a little bit more kind of grassiness out of the beer. Yeah, you do get a wee bit more kind of grassiness out of this one, but you also get some of these nice kind of fruity characters as well there. If you use Cascade in some of these kind of lager type beers, it can be very, very interesting. So for me, you get a little bit of that kind of, you get a very slight kind of figgy quality out of it. There's a little bit of a blackcurranty, blackberry sort of thing in there as well. So yeah, it's got a kind of little bit of a red, kind of candied red strawberry type thing coming out of it too. So some nice kind of reddish fruity notes to the beer too. Yeah, the aroma out of this beer is just very, very nice. It's got everything you'd expect. As I say, the thing that really just strikes me about this beer is how kind of clean it comes across as being, because it's and you know, again, it's not surprising because I'm used to how the Scandinavian beer is, and Finland obviously are a Nordic country as well. You expect them to be very clean, but yeah, it just strikes me as quite a subtle aroma, this one. But I like how everything goes together with it. So yeah, this one for me is pretty nice in that sense. So take a little bit of time and just enjoy that aroma before you get stuck into it, but we're going to have a taste of this one now. So this one is the Wehnäbock, part of the Prykmestar range at Vakka-Suomen Panimo, now part of Pienpanimo-olut in Helsinki. So yeah, let's get stuck into this one then. Slange, skål, 6.2% Bock beer. Thank you again to Riku. Slange, skål, kippis. Oh yeah. That's pretty damn nice actually. It's got a lovely big brown sugary quality to it. As I said, in the in the aroma you do get some of that nice kind of toasty caramel coming out of it, but it's a lot more apparent and it's a lot more kind of caramelized in the flavour, which is great. I think this has had a fairly long boil, just going from the way that these brown sugars are coming out. I think this one has had a fairly long boil actually. But it's a lovely example of the style. It's almost got like a little bit more of a kind of it almost has a few kind of Doppelbock like qualities to it because of how caramelised these brown sugars are actually. This is definitely one of the kind of stronger, more punchy Bock beers that I've come across actually. I mean it's 6.2%, it is a little bit weak to be a Doppelbock. At 6.2% it is a single Bock. I don't think there's much doubt about that, but it's a lovely beer and that's the main thing. We can sort of question what style exactly it should be, but I think it turns out very nicely in terms of the Bock style. I really like this one, so thumbs up to Vakka-Suomen Panimo for this. They've pulled off a really nice beer here. Let's try and break the flavour of this one down then. So straight away with this beer, you can feel that nice kind of brown, almost German rye bready quality. That just blankets the middle of your tongue, and you will feel that gets sweeter and sweeter the further that you go into the aftertaste. The bready base that this beer has, I think, is very nice, and I think that sweetness is promoted by how kind of clean the mouthfeel of the beer is. And again, as I say, finish water, very good quality. But yeah, what I will say is, the beer, it's got all the components that you expect, but they just kind of come out in slightly different ways compared to the German examples of this style that I've had. So yeah, if you go towards the back third of your palate, you'll feel the breadiness. It just thickens up a wee bit. You do feel that the breadiness is a little bit thicker on that back third of the tongue. You do get a few more kind of grainy, cereally elements out of it there, which is great. But then as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, you can feel the thickness just goes down a little bit. And then as you move further forward into that, you get a nice little bit of a sweet caramelly. You do get a little bit of that brown sugary note there, but that oily, you do get like an oily circle in the middle of your palate, and that's where all the brown sugars push their way out of this beer, which is lovely. So yeah, I really like how this. I do like how this goes together. Yeah, so that, as I say, in the middle of your palate, it's got a really highly caramelised, almost treacly molasses sort of thing to it, or it really is highly caramelised in that middle part of your palate. And as you move further out from that, the sweetness of the caramel does pick up a little bit, but then as you reach the very edge of the tongue, it's got a nice little bit of a McVitie's digestive kind of thing, which I think is very, very nice. So I like how that goes together in this one, but the brown sugars for me are quite dark and big and oily in this one, so definitely one of the more dark, the kind of very dark, oily, brown sugary Bocks that I've come across actually, which is nice. As I say, it's got a little bit of a kind of doppelbocky character to it, which is kind of interesting. But I certainly like how it goes in terms of the style. But yeah, it's quite straightforward, this one. It's quite a straight shooter for me, that the way this one goes forward. Lovely bready base, and then the brown sugar's kind of sitting there on top, but the breadiness does get sweeter and sweeter the further you go into the aftertaste. On the front corners of the palate then, if you go diagonally back, you will pick up one or two little woody elements to the beer, and there is a wee touch of a kind of nuttiness to the beer. But if you go to the back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of you do have a nice little bit of a kind of earthiness to the beer, and as you move further forward, you get a little bit of a herbal quality there, and as you reach the front corners of the palate, there's a little bit of floral aromaticity. It's got a wee bit of a German kind of noble hop quality to it. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind, which I really like. So yeah, thumbs up to the guys at Vakka-Suominen for this. This is a really nice take on the box style, I have to say. So I do hope they continue in this vein actually. So yeah, the fruity side of things then, where to start with this? As I always say, on that front third of the palate you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. And for me, I do wonder, as I say, if there is a noble hop in this one. You could have the Hallertaus or the Tettnangers in there, the Bavarian Hallertaus, the Baden-Württemberg Tettnangers, but it could be a little bit of Northern Brewer or something that's in here, which is quite interesting, because it does have a wee bit of that kind of red fruit quality to it as well. That's a very popular hop to use in Doppelbocks, but like they say, they're using a little bit of Cascade in this as well. So you do get a little bit more floral quality out of this beer, which is quite nice. So yeah, if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a little bit of that darker fruit out of it, and when you take the beer in, when you take the beer in, you do almost just get a little touch of a raisiny sharpness to the beer, but you can feel on that front third of your palate that it gets progressively more juicy actually. It starts to lean more towards a kind of figgy, an oily sort of figgy quality, and as you reach the front the front tip of your tongue, there's a little bit of that more oily blackcurranty blackberry type note coming out of the beer. That's what makes me wonder about the Northern Brewer. The kind of figgy note that you get out of this, though, I think is more the Cascade, because when you put Cascade in a more caramelly malt base like this, it really leans more towards a kind of figgy, juicy kind of note. So I want to say there's a bit of Northern Brewer in this, and there's also a little bit of Cascade as well, like it says on the bottle. So yeah, it's a lovely beer, this one though, and as I say, it's definitely one of the more big treacly molasses kind of examples of the box style that I've come across for sure. So yeah, pay attention to that when you taste this beer. I think it's a nice example of the style, definitely. I would certainly say that about it. So yeah, thumbs up to Vakka-Suomen for this one. They've pulled off a really nice example of the bock, but definitely one of the bigger and more oily examples of the style. So let's go on to the mouthfeel then. Let's talk about that. So yeah, I would describe this beer as being, it's kind of at the top end of mid-bodied, to be honest with you. The carbonation is very smooth. It's got a big oily mouthfeel to it thanks to the malt base, and that helps promote it. You do get a bit more of a toasty, grainy note out of this beer later on, but it's got a big oily mouthfeel to it, like I said, but at the same time it comes across as very clean. You just get that Finnish water is making this beer very, very clean, which is interesting. On the IBU side of things, what would we say? I think this beer is quite low IBUs. You do get a little bit of bitterness from the bread and the sort of brown sugars in this one, because they are so kind of toasted almost, and sort of big and thick, but I think this has only got to be about 20 IBUs or something like that. It has to be somewhere in that kind of region. But the malt, like I say, lovely kind of breadiness comes out of it. It almost gets a little bit sweet, and you've got that big oily brown sugary character to it as well, and you've got some really nice juicy kind of fruity characters with this beer as well. I really like how this one goes together, so it gets a big thumbs up from me. A very nice example of the box style, and definitely cool to review this one for you on one of the last days of October 2020, actually, when the beer is in season. So yeah, I've really enjoyed reviewing this one for you. So yeah, let's leave it at that once again. A massive thank you to Riku for making this review possible. As I said, this one was the Prykmestar Wehnäbock, coming in at 6.2% ABV from the Vakka-Suomen Panimo, who are going to now be run by Panimo from Helsinki. And it turned out to be very, very nice. So as always, let me know your own thoughts in this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Vakka-Suomen Panimo, and Panimo, I guess, as well, since they're now affiliated. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, and you will see more Finnish reviews coming up very, very soon. This is the first one for a wee while, which I do apologise about. It's just been a little bit busy and things. So yeah, a couple more to come until before Christmas time, and then again you'll see more Finnish reviews appearing on the channel after that. But yeah, this one was really cool to review, and definitely nice to return to this brewery again after such a long time. Hopefully more reviews to come from them in the fairly near future. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers.